In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to drive a market. And that might kind of sound like a funny thing, but in some ways I feel very lucky to have started in the real estate business. You know, I started in 1990, so it was really kind of right before all this technology and everything went online and it is the way it is today. And back in those days, if you're working with a client and they had a real estate requirement that you're trying to help them fulfill, the way you figured out, you know, what was out there and what might work for them was you sat down with them, you looked at a map together, you pulled out a big black marker and a ruler and you drew lines around the quadrants on that map of what would be, you know, kind of in the acceptable geographic framework. And then you got in your car and, you learned kind of early on, this was great activity for very early in the morning or Saturdays and Sundays. You got in your car and you drove that market. I mean, you drove every single street in that market. And you looked for signs, you looked for opportunities where properties looked available that maybe weren't being marketed. And that's how you did it. And so if, my tips for driving a market today is a little bit different, but it's kind of along those same lines that borrows from that ethic, so to speak. And so the first thing I would do is say to spend a little time planning your route. So if you're going to drive a market, spend a little time on the computer first and foremost, create a map, plan your route out a little bit. And then as you go out and you drive the market, you kind of hit your high points, also make sure that you mix in some time in driving that market where you're driving with no destination in mind. You're just kind of out there exploring, seeing where the roads of interest take you. And, it's a great way to, get your head out of the GPS navigation map and get your head back, into your environment and really see and feel and notice the place you're in and the place you're traveling through. And so good to have a partner with you while you do this and, take notes on that map, update your map, what you see, what's of interest, write down, sign names and numbers, people you see a lot and you think work in that market that may be good to be in touch with. And then this is what separates the novice and the pro here is when you're done with that day, update your map, kind of go back to step one, where you're updating your materials, you're looking at your places you've been and what you've seen, and then guess what? You go and you drive it again. And you do that 2 or 3 times, and boy, you'll know a market. If you do it as a consumer, you may know that market better than 90% of the real estate professionals that work it, because very few take the time to go out and study a market that way. If you like this content, please feel free to subscribe below for more of it. And if you would like to have a specific discussion about something you're working on or something you're going through or some real estate challenge you have, please feel free to reach out. I'd love the opportunity to discuss it with you.